Many people often complain that they cannot understand the Duckworth Lewis system. So this video is precisely made for you. Let us assume that there is an India versus Australia match and India made 300 for 8 in their 50 overs. And then it started raining. So it was decided to reduce 30 overs from the other team. So it was decided that if 300 runs can be scored in 50 overs, how many runs can be scored in 20 overs? Using the proportions, 300 was multiplied to 20 divided by 50 and we get 120 runs. The new target to Australia was 121 in 20 overs. Do you think this target is a fair target? You would definitely say, no, this is not. This is unfair. The reason is, it is easy to make 121 runs in 20 overs than to make 301 runs in 50 overs. Because lesser the overs, the teams play more aggressively because they do not have to preserve their 10 wickets for the full 50 overs. And therefore, they can achieve a higher run rate. You must be knowing in 2020s, making 120 runs is very, very easy. The teams mostly end up making 160 to 180 runs in the 20 overs, which should be very close to 300 runs in 50 overs. And that is why Duckworth Lewis system was invented in order to make the game difficult, equally difficult for both the teams. Today, Duckworth Lewis system is also known by the name of Duckworth Lewis Stern system after Frank Duckworth, Tony Lewis, and Stephen Stern. Currently, Stephen Stern is the custodian of the system and he maintains the updated resources. So there is a concept of resources in DLS. What is this? So assuming a 50 over one day international, if there are 10 wickets left and 50 overs left, we consider that the team has 100% of the resources. But suppose if the team loses 1 wicket, 9 wickets are left, and has played for 8 overs, the remaining 42 overs are left, then we say that the team now does not have 100% of the resources, but has 86.3% of the resource. Now the question is, who decides this? That it should be 86.3% or whatever. So there is a very complex mathematical formula which gives this number. Similarly, with 6 wickets left and 29 overs remaining, the resources are 53.4. And in the very same manner, in a 2020 match, when 20 overs are given and 10 wickets are remaining from the very beginning, we consider 56.6% of the resource available to each team. So if a 50-50 match has 100% of the resources, a 2020 match does not have 40% of the resources, it has 56.6% of the resource. A close number to this, because all the 10 wickets are intact, only the number of overs are reduced. So coming back to our previous question, if 300 runs can be scored in 50 overs, how many runs can be scored in 20 overs? And both of them have 10 wickets. So 50 overs, 10 wickets correspond to 100% of the resource. 20 overs, 10 wickets correspond to 56.6% of the resource. So this is the proportion that we are going to talk of, and therefore the number of runs is 300 multiplied by 56.6 divided by 100, and we arrive at 169.8. So the pass score is considered to be the integer value, the value before the decimal point, which is 169. Pass score simply means the score that the team batting second need to make in order to tie the match. And if they score 1 extra run, they win the match. So the runs required to win is 170. So in this way, they arrive at the score, at the target. Now you may argue that 56.6% resource is too high a number or too low a number, but that is based on some complex mathematical model. So this table is the table of resources in which the overs left are mentioned over here and the wickets lost is mentioned over here. So suppose if 48.5 overs are remaining and 9 wickets are remaining, we can intersect the 48.5 from here and 1 wicket lost from here. to get 92.4. So 92.4% of the resources are remaining. And you can find this table, as I have mentioned the link in the description box. So this table that you just saw was the Duckworth Lewis Standard Edition table. But nowadays, we use the DLS Professional Edition, where a computer program is used. And the computer program makes this table depending upon the target runs, depending upon the runs that the team 1 has scored. So this table is now not used nowadays. But if we don't have that Professional Edition, we can use this table, of course. So a computer program is used nowadays, which is updated using modern data analytics to obtain the resources. But in this particular video, since we do not have that particular table, which we use nowadays, we shall be satisfied with this particular table, the table which is the DL Standard Edition. Now, one more thing. The DL Standard Edition also used the concept of G50, which was the average ODI score. But now, since 2004, this concept of G50 is not used. So we are not going to discuss this in the table, in this video. Let us consider the first example. England makes 101 run by losing 2 wickets in their 20 overs. Then the rain stopped the play. Remember, it's a 50-50 over match. And reduced 30 overs from both sides. So what should be the revised target for New Zealand in 20 overs? So in this imaginary example, we saw that if 101 runs were scored by losing 2 wickets in 20 overs, what should be the target for New Zealand? So on the start of the innings, England had 50 overs and 10 wickets. And they started playing a 50-50 over match. So they had 100% of their resources. But then, after 20 overs, when they had 30 overs left and 8 wickets remaining, the rain stopped the play. So if you look at the table, 30 overs and 8 wickets remaining, you get 67.3% of the resources. So they had 67.3% of the resources still left, and still they could have achieved this 101 runs. So they made this 101 runs only using 32.7% of their resources. While, on the other hand, New Zealand did not start a 50-50 over match, because from the very beginning they knew that only 20 overs were to be played. So they knew 20 overs are left and full 10 wickets are left. So they had 56.6% of the resources left. So they have 56.6% of the resource. So if 32.7% resources can achieve 101 runs, 56.6% resource should have how many runs? So the runs is equal to 101 multiplied by 56.6 upon 32.7, which is the cross multiplication. So we arrive at 174.81. So the power score is the integer value of this, which is 174, and plus 1 is the runs required to win. So the target for New Zealand should be 175. Now many of you may argue that since both are playing only 20 overs, why is the target for New Zealand not 102? The reason is because England considered it to be a 50-50 over match. They were playing very slowly. They wanted to preserve wickets so that they could play after the 40 overs very fast. So they had only lost 2 wickets, and that is why they had 67.3% of the resources left when the innings suddenly stopped. Suppose if they had lost 3 wickets or 4 wickets, then they would have lesser resource, and the target accordingly to New Zealand would also be lower than 175. Let us understand another example. Sri Lanka is all out for 306 runs in 49 overs. South Africa started their innings, and when they reached 255 for 5 in 44.2 overs, rain stopped the play and game was called off. The play could not continue. So you need to decide who won the match. So 306 runs, and we need to know what is the resource that they used and how much resource does South Africa now have. So Sri Lanka played for their full innings. Though they only played 49 overs, they could have played 50 overs, but they were all out. So remember, though they had 1 over still left, but since they did not have any wickets left, that resource is always considered to be zero. So they used full 100% of their resource. So they made 306 runs using 100% of their resource. Then South Africa started their innings. In the beginning, they knew that they were going to play for 50 overs and they had 10 wickets. So in the beginning, they had all 100% resource. But then, when they reached 44.2 overs, or when 5.4 overs were left, and 5 wickets were remaining, means when they had still 17% of the resource remaining, it started raining. So this blue represents the rain. So they could achieve 255 runs using 83% of their resource. So the runs would be 306 multiplied by 85 divided by 100, which is 253, which means the power score is 253, which is the integer value of this. And they made 255, and the runs they at least had to make in order to tie up the match was 253. So South Africa wins by 255 minus 253, which is 2 runs, using the DLS system. The reason is they still had 17% of the resource, and they could have played this match and they could have achieved the target of 307. Now we shall consider a little difficult example, or complex one. West Indies were 118 for 2 after playing 21 overs. Rain stopped the play. Both the innings were reduced by 10 overs. West Indies then continued with their game and they went up to make 201 for 7 in 35.3 overs, and it rained again. Then the innings had to be suspended. Bangladesh innings was reduced to 25 overs. What should be their target? So in all they made 201 runs. We need to know using how much resource did they make this 201 run and how much resource is available to Bangladesh, and hence what should be their score. So at the very beginning of the innings, West Indies had 100% of the resource because they had 50 overs and 10 wickets remaining. But after 21 overs, when they had lost 2 wickets, means when 39 overs were still left and 8 wickets were remaining, they had 76.9% of their resources. You can get this number using the table. Then 10 overs were reduced. So suddenly from 39 overs left, they now knew they had only 29 overs left, but they still had 8 wickets remaining. So instead of 76.9% resource, they now have 66.1% resource. They lost this resource because of the reduced number of overs. Then they continued with their innings, and when 4.3 overs were still left and 3 wickets were remaining because they lost 7 wickets, means when 11.6% of the resources were still left, the innings was called off. Remember, when the overs were 35.3, they had considered to be a 40-over match because 10 overs were reduced. So as per them, 4.3 overs were still remaining and 3 wickets were remaining. So they had 11.6% of the resource remaining. So how much resource did they actually have to score 201 runs? So when you subtract 100 and 76.9, you get 23.1. And when you subtract 66.1 and 11.6, you have 54.5. If you add up these two resources, you get 77.6% of the resource. So they made 201 runs using 77.6% of their resource. On the other hand, Bangladesh innings were reduced to 25 overs. So from the very beginning, they knew that 25 overs were left and 10 wickets are remaining. So they had 66.5% of the resource left from the very beginning. So we need to find how much target should they be given using 66.5% of the resource. So if we cross multiply 201 multiplied by 66.5 divided by 77.6, we get 172.25. the integer value of which is 172, that's the pass score, and the target for Bangladesh would be 173 runs to be made in 25 overs. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comment section. If you like the video, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.